Police Academy. I mean, I was just like superwoman raring to go. And so a lot of times people have the misconception that illness is associated with things like obesity, and just, some other underlying, issue. And that is not always the case. So share with us how you came to find out that you had FSGS.
Well, it was the same thing. I was in high school. It was my senior year of high school. I was this healthy, young SoCal girl doing her thing before going to college and all that kind of stuff. And it was the same thing. It just came out of nowhere. Like one day, my ankles were swollen, and they were swollen for 2 days in a row. And I was like, this is really weird. Maybe you ate too much salt or this or that. And I was like, nothing is different. So I went to like my pediatrician even, and they had me do a urinalysis, and they're like, you're spilling protein. And I was like, I don't know what that means. Okay. They're like, go see a nephrologist. And I didn't know what the heck a nephrologist was. I was like, okay, this guy, whatever. And they tell me like, oh, it's the kidney doctor. There's something wrong with your kidneys. And I was just like, it was just so out of left field that I had no idea how to react or respond to it. Like I didn't know it was going to be the life-changing diagnosis that it was. I thought, I'll take some medication, they'll do this, they'll do that, it'll get better, things will be fine. It never got better. Things were never fine.
They don't, and they're not.
Yeah, I was healthy, and I never, was in the hospital. I never had health issues growing up until then. I'm like Bridget, the kidney girl.
And so go ahead, Jarrett. I'm sorry.
How did you come up with the moniker, the name Chronically Bridget? And was that something that you did, or something that your friends did, or how did you come up with that?
I came up with that because I kind of liked that it was a mixture of like the chronic illness that I was, going to chronicle my adventures in kidney disease or whatever. And then also that I smoke weed. So it all went together.
Okay. I like that. Yeah.
I thought it was a perfect combination of all three things that I wanted to share and talk about. So it just kind of worked out perfectly.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
I thought you were
being honest.
I'm just kidding. Wow. So, you got people weed.
I don't know where that came from.
You got the audience going with that, girl. Now, I don't know why you did told that one. But, so at what point, based on age as well as elevated symptoms, were you having, to the point where your illness, where the FSGS really began to escalate? Were you put on any medications? Because here's why I asked. Initially, when I was diagnosed, one of the first meds they wanted to put me on was Prednisone. And I remember saying, wait, is that, and I forgive me, I didn't mean to make it sound like this, but this is how I remembered it. I go, is that drug that blows people up like a blimp? And, and so he sort of chuckled like, well, yeah, but you can learn how to maintain your, no. And I said, no, I'm not taking it. I'm a cop. I cannot be running around the streets of Chicago like a Goodyear blimp. I'm not taking it. Period.
Well, yes. So prednisone was the very first thing that the doctor put me on. And he told me the side effects are that you're going to gain weight and get acne. I'm a 17-year-old girl. I'm in high school in SoCal. I'm wearing my little crop tops, and I'm like, oh, I'm so cute, And I was like, I'm going to get fat and break out. That's every teen girl's nightmare. So that was pretty awful.
That must not have been good news.
Yeah, it was not. I was on prednisone for 8 years, and I look at pictures, and I'm just like, the huge chipmunk cheeks, and I felt like once I got off of it and like my face got back to normal, I was like, that's what I look like? Like, weird. I don't even remember. You know what I mean? It had been for so long.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it was that, and it was one of those, like, it worked for a little bit, not so much. At this point, I couldn't even tell you all the drugs that I've been on because I've done everything, you know?
Right.
But I was able to go away to college down here in San Diego. I lived like an hour and a half away. It's where my family was. So I was always going back and forth, doctor's appointments, this and that. I was able to make it through my first 2 years of college pretty well. You know, I had some issues where I would get like sick over the summer. I'm like gaining weight, losing weight from like not being able to hold food down. And it was just a big mess. But it was like my third year of college that it got so bad that the doctor like knew. He was like, you're going to have a transplant and start dialysis. So I left school. I moved back with my family, and like my dad got tested and he became my kidney donor. And so, yeah, it was really wonderful. Luckily, I was only on dialysis for about 3 months the first time because we were able to like time it so well that it worked out that way. And, you know, unfortunately, I killed that kidney right away. Like within 8 months, like I had tried to go back to college. I went back for a semester, had to drop out again, go home, be on dialysis for another year, and have my second kidney transplant within a year and a half. Yeah, so it's like within 3 years, it progressed. So I was diagnosed in January of 2000, and I had my first transplant in May of 2003, and my second transplant January of 2005.
And who was the second transplant from a
cadaver.
Living kidney? Oh, it was from a deceased donor. Okay.
Yeah, I actually had started to get tested with my stepsister, who, even though we're not blood, randomly we were like a perfect match.
All right.
So she was thinking about giving it to me when I got a call saying they had a cadaver, and it was really fast because it was only a year. Where normally in California, especially with, I have an O blood type, so, you know, we're the
you can only get from an O donor. Yeah.
So it's kind of harder to get an O kidney. You wait longer, and they told me the wait could be up to 10 years. Literally within like 12 months exactly, I got a phone call in the middle of the night, and they're like, we have a kidney for you, and I was like, I'll take it, I'll try it out, why not? And so that one lasted a little longer because we did plasmapheresis. That one started that. Okay. Yeah, and so that's, you know, a lot. Yeah, and so that's just like the process for folks watching, that it's kind of like dialysis where they filter your blood, but they're taking out albumin and giving you new albumin in, like or whatever. I don't know how it works. And so that kind of sucked because I still had to do that until my kidney failed again. So it's like I was never really off dialysis the second time.
So you did that pretty regularly then during that time?
Did that treatment. Like I had to get all drugged up before I would start.
Wow.
Nausea meds and this and that. It was really a really tough time.
So when you say it was tough, was it tough mentally? How was that difficult for you in your life at that moment?
It was really hard because it was like 2 or 3 weeks before my 21st birthday that I had my first kidney transplant. So that's a hard time. Like you see all your friends, everyone is celebrating and they're in college and having a great time and this and that. And I'm stuck at home, sick by myself. I did this quarantine life way before this was cool, you know? Because, you know, you're not allowed to leave your house or anything, you know, you're supposed to like stay secluded away from people for months at a time. So that was really hard. And then just the whole thing, it's like I'm trying to finish school, I'm in the hospital studying for my finals. Like the doctor would be like, you know, I can write you a note. Like you were just in the hospital. Like it's okay. I was like, no, I have to do it. I like got up all early in the morning and like drove back down to San Diego to take my final the day after I was in the hospital. And it was just such a, like, oh my God, it was such a S show. You know what I mean? So I just kind of really struggled with that, watching all of my peers and my friends do what I had planned to do for my life. You know, like I was going to go to college and then I was going to go to grad school, do this, do that. Like anybody does, you know, when you're a senior, especially, like, what's my life going to look like? And this is not anything like I thought it would look like, you know, it's just like all, so it was really hard and I struggled with it for a long time. And it wasn't really until the past couple of years when I really started doing therapy that I finally was able to like put a name to how I was feeling, and that it was depression and it was anxiety that I was dealing with, you know, just wanting to hide away, like not bother people with what I was going through. I felt like, no, I'm a burden. Like I can't let anybody really in to know what's happening because they're just going to be like, oh geez, whatever, you know, like she's just complaining. And, so I did that and I missed out on a lot of events where sometimes it would I just couldn't go. You know, it's like some group of friends, someone's doing something, a family event even, and I would like cancel at the last minute just because like the thought of being near people and pretending to be normal was just way too much for me to handle. Like I can't just talk about regular life stuff when you're going through this life-changing battle, you know? It's like I'm literally fighting for my life right now. Like, I'm not going to talk about, I don't know, that you're annoyed that some guy cut you off on the street or something. I'm like, get a real problem, people. That's always, and I had a problem with that for a while too.
Yeah.
I felt like it wasn't as sympathetic to other people as I should have been because I was just like, get a real problem. Your life is not hard.
Right.
Well, now I've like started to accept that everybody has their own issues and all that.
Yeah.
Audrey, did you ever do plasmapheresis?
No, I never had to do plasma. My situation, Bridget, I will say I was truly blessed. My kidney came, my donor was a living donor, my godson, who was also O. And we were literally pretty much almost like a perfect match. And so the transplant itself went great. I ended up though being on dialysis myself for about 6 months. So I did experience that and I chose PD, but I came right out of that and got the kidney. And all I ever was on was our regular like immunosuppressants. I personally am on Cellcept and Prograf. I'm not sure what they put you on. Some of them are different, like Rapamune and, you know, a few of the other guys. But I, praise God, am just maybe 15 years post. So I want to say that to urge you that there is hope. And that's why I told you backstage, I really need you to keep your faith, you know, because that is what is going to get you through this. You will. Oh, yeah. I know what they told you. I mean, I know obviously that you had 2 losses. That's the unfortunate thing about FSGS. They told me the same thing. You know, now there is a big possibility that this disease is going to come back and attack your new kidney. And I'm just looking at them like, as good as I feel and as good as I felt, as opposed to how I felt prior to that, I'm not trying to hear that. And here I am, almost 16 years later. So it can't happen. It's not guaranteed. It's just they have to tell you that because it obviously is a truth. I think that your that was just amazing for your dad, you know, to be your first donor. And that's the thing about FSGS. It comes and attacks the glomeruli. And so that's tied in with our blood. And so that's what really gets really, you know, unfortunate with that, because it can start really destroying those, you know, the cells and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like after that first transplant, like I started spilling protein immediately. Like as soon as the kidney made urine, immediately. I got swollen up. I was like in the hospital for an extended, like 10 days or something, because I was having complications afterwards. Yeah, it was just not a good situation. But I was very lucky. Like my dad, there was zero hesitation. It was like, you need a kidney? Okay, well, I'm going to get tested and we're going to see what happens. And my sisters were the same way. You know, my biological sisters as well as my stepsister. And everyone was just like, if I can do it, I will. And I've been so blessed. I've had so many people throughout my life. Like I had my transplant nurse, when my kidney failed, she offered me to give me a kidney. She was like, oh my God, I love you so much. Like, I feel so bad. Like, I'll give you one of my kidneys. I was like, it's okay. Like, I've gotten a lot of kidneys offered to me throughout my life. Yes, it's such a blessing. And it's funny because I can't take any of them. You know, I'm like, I'd love to, but no doctor will give it to me. Whereas, and then I see other people out there who are just like struggling to find someone to give it to them. And I want one of my people, I want to be like, I can't take it, but like, we got thousands and thousands of people out there who need this, because they're going to maybe not last that long on dialysis. Some people aren't good patients. They don't last that long, unfortunately.
Well, and also what I find interesting in your situation, Bridget, is first of all, the fight, the body fighting that off in the beginning, right after the transplant, totally normal. That's what our bodies are supposed to do. That's why they have to, you know,
immunosuppressing meds.
Doses right away, because that's the amazing thing about our body. It goes right into attack mode. You're not supposed to be here. Who are you? Get out.
Get out of here.
And so I think there's a possibility that based on that alone, and then it sounds as though to me that you could obviously, especially being that you acquired it at a younger age, could have a much more aggressive stage of FSGS. I'm sure FSGS is in levels too, as far as how aggressive it can be.
Oh, absolutely.
Person to person.
I mean, it seems like there has to be, considering some folks like you are so lucky and it takes the first time and it doesn't come out. And then there's the folks like me, like I've seen other FSGS people who've had 2 or 3 transplants and it keeps coming back, and they're in the same boat I am. It's like we're kind of in this like wasteland of just waiting around until there's some artificial kidney coming out. So UCSF, hurry up, get that kidney going.
Exactly.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready to be the bionic woman. I've been telling everyone, I'm going to live longer than all of you guys because I'm going to get a fake kidney.
We have the technology.
Hey, they're doing all kinds of awesome stuff now. You know,
exactly. Like I'm just counting down the days.
And then obviously also with your blood type, that puts you in that little small category too. You know, where your kidney can only come from those other special O category people.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that pool gets smaller in the donation world, you know, outside of
absolutely, because those kidneys are going to O's are going to everyone. Anyone can take an O. I'm such a giver.
That's right. But I do believe, and I urge you to believe it as well, that it can and it will work when you get another one. Let's just claim that right now. You know, it's gonna work. It's going to work. You're being taken through, you know, all of this. You're going to get an amazing kidney. I really believe that. And you have the personality to match that, you know, so you just, you know, continue to stay optimistic about that. But what I would like to ask you also is, can you share with everyone the part where the doctor, the nephrologist literally told you, well, no, we're not going to do another transplant on you, because that's can you kind of share with everyone how that came about? Because personally, I think that's deep that he said that to
That
you.
is.
Yes. So after my second transplant, I was doing the plasmapheresis before I started dialysis again. I moved, so I had to start seeing a new transplant team in a different city. And it was there that those doctors, they like put me on the transplant list, but they said, we won't give you a transplant unless there's different medication or treatment. So I was like on hold. So I was gaining my time, but they pretty much said, you can't do that. I mean, I've seen specialists. Like I flew out to New York to see the doctor who treated Alonzo Mourning.
Yeah.
The basketball star who has FSGS.
Right.
So I saw Gerald Appel, I believe that was his name. I saw him, and then I went to UC San Francisco. There was another doctor there who kind of specializes at FSGS and has a lot of those patients. And that was the doctor who pretty much told me, he's like, if you were my patient, I would not give you another transplant. He's like, it's 99.9% chance that it'll come back in a third one. And he's like, so I wouldn't do that to your body and waste, the resources and that kidney that could go to somebody where it's more likely to live.
So was this, I'm sorry, let me just jump in, interject real quick. I'm sorry. So him basing them not wanting to give you another, was that only based upon if it had been from a deceased donor? Like if you came with another living donor, would they still deny doing that?
Yeah. Because, they were like, a big thing is, and I mean, they keep saying, they don't want to put my body through it and this and that and all this stuff.
Okay.
And I'm sure also, because dialysis centers, they have numbers they got to keep up. They want their transplants to survive because they report how long the graft lives for, and they don't want somebody that's like, where it's definitely going to fail. So unfortunately, like I said, I've had more offers of friends and loved ones who are willing to donate to me, and unfortunately, I can't take it because none of the doctors will do the surgery. So even so that was, 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, that I had learned that information.
All right.
And then since then, I moved again, so now I'm at another transplant center.
Right. I was just going to ask that. Was it just one doctor or several doctors that
This has
said
been several doctors who have said this to me. And so I'm in San Diego now, so I went to, the doctors had, my nephrologist, she had put in a recommendation for me to get evaluated for transplant at UC San Diego, and they wouldn't even meet with me. They straight up denied me. They were like, no, we're not even going to meet with this girl. We would never give her a transplant. So that was heartbreaking. And then I ended up going to Scripps up in La Jolla, and I got evaluated there, and they're, they sound so enthusiastic, and the transplant doctor's like, we're gonna fix you, we're gonna get you better, and we're gonna do whatever it takes to get you a transplant. Oh, no. Like a month later, I got a phone call, and it said, I'm sorry, but you're denied. We won't transplant you. And that was really heartbreaking because I had kind of resigned myself to the fact that it was not going to happen for so many years. And then to have some doctors and a couple of them give you this little glimmer of hope, it's like I've been in this dark tunnel, and they look, there's a little bit of light at the end. And I got excited, oh my gosh, it could actually happen. Holy crap, that would be amazing. And then to get shut down all over again, it was really, really, really hard. And I took it really hard, and I was really sad for a while just because it was just, I don't know, you hope to have this second chance at life. And so that's kind of I feel over the years, I've tried to adjust that mindset instead of thinking that the kidney was the only way I could have a normal life. I've just developed a normal life around dialysis instead.
Okay.
Because
Sure.
I'm not getting a kidney. That's not happening. if it does, it's going to be a very long time from now. And dialysis has been what I've been doing, and it's in my foreseeable future. So if I don't wrap my head around that and just make that's my job. I go to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I do dialysis, I rest up, and then the rest of the week I'm resting or just trying to do regular life stuff, which is really hard. You know, it's like trying to do the laundry or do the dishes or just even stand up and walk across the room. My blood pressure's really low. I'm just exhausted all the time. And so it's really hard to do that, but I just focus. And I'm always reminding myself and like praying every night and thanking God for all the wonderful things that I do have in my life. You know, I have a roof over my head and food and amazing support system. Like without my friends and my family, I would never have, I don't think I could have made it this whole time. You know, it's like my parents have just been extraordinary in helping me out, and my friends, like I'm very blessed that I have a tight group of friends that we've all known each other since elementary, junior high, and we're still best friends. You know, it's like we get together and during this time we do Zoom game nights. They're my best friends in the whole world, and so they were the ones where it was kind of hard when I was in the younger age, you know, because they were the ones going and doing, and even now it's like many of them got married and they had kids and they have these great careers and homes and all this stuff that I wanted for myself. That's just, I don't have. But I have a different version of it. I live in an apartment. I live in San Diego, right by the beach. So I love that. I have a boyfriend who is amazing. He doesn't let me call it dialysis. He makes me call it live-alysis.
Live-alysis, okay.
Why do you go? You don't die. You go there to live. So it's my live-alysis. And then I have two beautiful little kittens, too. My little kitty cats. And they're my babies. You know, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Well, they're part of the family, too.
You have, it sounds like you have an amazing support system, and that's really important, and I'm so grateful for that too, because that is definitely our lifeline, you know, when we're going through things like that. And it's necessary, you know, and that's why my heart just goes out, just not that this has anything to do with what we went through with our health, but you know, just in thinking about it, but this is the good part. It makes me reflect on, my God, what if people like you and me had transplants now and were having issues, let's say, no one could be there with us. We would literally be going through that by ourselves. Do you know what I mean? So I even think about, with regard to like you sharing the great things and thanking God for what you have, I often reflect about that during this time of pandemic, where God is like, see what I brought you from and to, and what you could have been, you know, dealing with if this had happened, you know, back then or whatever. But I love the fact that you're still doing your thing with work, and that's really, really good. And I know you mentioned about your energy. Now, let me ask you this. Have they has your nephrologist talked to you about, there's a shot for energy. Now, I don't know if they're still doing this, but girl, this shot was like my lifesaver. This once a week shot. I got it every Friday. They started to let me bring it home, and I had to learn how to administer it, you know, to self. Now, the shot is called Erythropoietin. It's called the EPO. That EPO shot was the highlight of my life every week.
See, I wish like
your chronic girl. That was my chronic.
I have been on EPO.
Is that what you just said?
That was my chronic. Every Friday, couldn't wait.
Yes, you're like, I'm feeling good.
You know, I'd be bouncing off the walls, the house got clean. I mean, what didn't I do? You know, that's the whole point. It's just amazing, because our body produces what's called erythropoietin, and when you have kidney disease, it goes from here. So when you mentioned your energy, you know, and the shot is so powerful. you can only get it once a week. And by the way, back then they were $1,000 a piece. So I'd have about $10,000 worth of EPO
like
in my
fridge.
refrigerator.
Yep.
And I'd be like, can I just get one more? And they're like, no, you cannot take that shot more.
Yes. I mean, I think that's amazing that it worked so well for you, because I've been on EPO since the very beginning. Like, since I was diagnosed, like my blood count was low. I've always needed to take it, but I've always had like a real struggle with it.
Really?
I take Mircera now, which they give me at dialysis, like a once a week injection. And it's similar to EPO, but it does, I guess it works a little differently by creating, stimulates my red blood cells and stuff. But the EPO it never really worked for me. It was like I would go, they always have weird protocols too. Like, if your blood count gets to a certain level, let's drop the amount you take, and then my blood count will drop. Like, early on, between my first transplants, I had some real issues with, having, from the immunosuppressants from the transplant, having zero immune system. And it just got to the point where it was really bad, because I had to go to the hospital and they had to like test my bone marrow. They told me like my bone marrow was tired or something crazy like that. And so my blood count was always up, down, up, down. Right now it's been, since I've been in San Diego and been on this Mircera, it's been pretty consistent. So I'm lucky that I have that. But even during treatment, I still have to wear oxygen. My blood pressure just drops really low, and that's really what it is. And the blood pressure switches too, because I've gone from having super, super high hypertension to now it's like I'm hypotensive. And so it's low, and I take medication now to raise my blood pressure. It's just kind of goes back and forth. I felt, a lot steadier. I used to give myself the shots at home when I did PD. I did that for about 9 years. After my second transplant.
So you did PD for 9 years?
Yeah. So I did hemodialysis before my first transplant. And then between the first and the second, I did a little bit of hemo, and then I did PD for about a year. Then after the second transplant, when I needed to do dialysis again, I knew I wanted to do PD. So I went right onto that in 2006. And I did that for quite a while. I was able to finish college. While doing that, I was able to get a job. I used to live up in Sacramento, in capital of California, and I worked at the Capitol. I did politics and stuff. And even there, that's like another group of amazing friends that I met, like more sister friends that I have, And it's just like they took care of me a lot while I was there, because my family, for part of the time, was in Sacramento, but part of the time was down in Southern California. And so I would give myself my shots every week. And I did that for 9 years until I had gotten peritonitis. And the hospital never really properly identified what the specific bug was. Like, every time they would try to grow it in the lab, nothing would grow. And so they were like, we don't know exactly what it is. We're just going to like hit you with all these antibiotics and just like kill it all out. But it came back 2 more times, and it completely destroyed my peritoneum. Like, doing PD is no longer an option for me. In
Have you
2000
considered home dialysis?
Well, yes, I would love to do that at some point. It's just, I don't have the room right now. I don't really have like a space for it. Hopefully at some point I'll, be able to move into like a bigger spot where I can like have like a dedicated area to be able to do that. Because that was part of the hard part about PD too. It's like part of the time when I lived with my family, I was lucky we had an extra bedroom, so I was full of dialysis stuff. And then when I had my own apartment and I was doing it, I just luckily I had like a dining room area that was just filled with dialysis supplies. But now my space is too small to do that. And right now, like, going to dialysis is really my only like social life.
All right.
There's not, like, I don't really know a lot of people down here. One of my lifelong friends, she lives a couple blocks away from me. So it's been great seeing her and having her nearby, but not being able to visit now because of everything is really hard. So it's like going to dialysis. I felt lucky. Everyone else is like stuck completely at home. No one can leave at all. And I'm like, oh, well, it hasn't really changed that much for me. Like I'm usually at home all the time, and then I go to dialysis and I go home. So my life has pretty much stayed the same. But to what you were talking about in regards to,
he keeps on correcting you.
Oh yeah, dialysis. That's my boyfriend.
Yeah.
That's my boyfriend commenting on it.
That's right. Correct her on that, Christopher.
Yeah, dialysis.
Yeah.
But oh gosh, I was going to say to what you were saying, Bella, about how now people who are in the hospital can't have anybody with them. Like I've seen, you know, on Instagram, just through the community of the chronic illness community, you know, lots of people, every other illness doesn't stop because this is going on. So people are still in the hospital and getting transplants and doing all this stuff. And like you said, they're by themselves. And I can't even imagine, like, I have been so blessed that my mom had a job where she was able to like take time off work or like work away from her job so she could be with me. Like when I first was diagnosed, with like every single doctor's appointment, every single everything with me. And she would always be at me at the hospital. And my brother used to come and he would sit with me at the hospital too. Sorry, I'm crying. He was pretty much my twin brother, and he passed away unfortunately earlier this year.
Sorry to hear that.
And it's been one of those where with that, even I feel really blessed that this happened in January, because if it had happened now, I wouldn't have been able to be with my family, you know, and we would have all had to, and I feel so like devastated for every family out there who is losing loved ones to this disease in just any circumstance, and they can't be together, they can't mourn them properly or grieve together or any of that, and it's really hard. And it just makes me sad because he was so wonderful and used to come and just hang out with me at the hospital just so I didn't have to be alone. It's like we didn't necessarily talk or anything. He would just be there anytime.
Give you a list, huh?
And my family's been great. Anytime I have like a really big surgery or something, you know, it's like they all, like he had driven down from Mammoth, drove like 5 hours to come be with me for a surgery that he knew was important. And my sisters came, and it's just been really wonderful. And so having that support system and people, I can't even imagine life without it. It just would be awful. I would die. Like I would freak out if I was in the hospital all by myself. I couldn't handle it. Like I need people, like, because I will flip out. Like my mom knows, you know, when you're at the hospital and they ask you 8 million times what's wrong with you, so tell me your story. I'm like, oh my God, like how much time do we have? I don't want to be here for a month. You know, and I get a little snippy at people after a while, unfortunately. Like I try so hard to be nice to the nurses, because the nurses, oh my God, nurses are hard. Yes, nurses are a freaking godsend. They are amazing. Like they just do so much, and they work so hard, and they deal with people who just have the worst attitudes. And I understand, like, we're sick and we feel like crap, and no one's in their best mood when you feel terrible. But some people are just, like, awful. Like, they're just mean and just nasty people. And so I try so hard to be nice, and then I feel bad whenever I, like, snap at them. I'm like, I already told you. I did this. Rah, 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 you know? And it's just, like, it's usually when I'm, like, really hungry, when they have me, like, on NPO. And they're like, you are not allowed to eat. Like, I had that one time where the doctor was supposed to do surgery, and I had to wait 3 days without eating anything, because each day the doctor would end up having transplants and all these other emergency surgeries. So at the end of the day, he'd be like, I'm so sorry. We're going to have to keep you from eating anything again, and we're going to try again tomorrow. 3 days. I was like, I was flipping out. It's not a good idea. And I hate hospital food anyway, so I won't eat it. I make people bring me snacks. So having to eat hospital food, be by yourself, all of that. Oh, that sounds awful.
No, it's real though.
Yeah, it is. very real. And I commend the people who are getting through this right now. And it's just, it's amazing.
Yeah. So did the doctor by chance, I know I saw some questions rolling through. They come kind of fast and I didn't see them all, but Jared, I know you probably have a better view from your end, but I think I saw, did Steve ask, has she ever, I'm sure what he means is that the doctor ever suggested that you try that chemotherapy be tried, Bridget?
No. So when I first was diagnosed, I tried a lot of different medications, and I don't remember, there was one of them that the doctor pretty much said it was like a chemotherapy medication. That was like the first time that I ever had to quit something, because I was working, a high school job at a movie theater, and I started this medication. The doctor's like, it's going to just decimate your immune system, so you can't work with the public anymore. You have to quit your job. So that was hard. That was the first time. But since then, like, they tried all sorts of different medications. And they've come up with a few things. Like, I think one of the ones now is like the rituximab, or the Rituxan, or whatever, how it's pronounced, that people have had some luck with and people are using, but that wasn't introduced until after my last transplant. So it's been 15 years. So they've had some ways that they've come, with it, but the doctors at this point just, it's like, it's hard to say because they're always there for me and trying to help, but I kind of feel also, you can't help but feel like abandoned by the medical community. Like, sorry, lady, there's nothing we can do. This is just your situation.
It's natural, though. I mean, for them to virtually just say no, and to hear that is especially hard. And it's very natural for you to feel as though maybe you've been, abandoned, or include you. That's very natural, and even if it's not intentional, with their emotions and action, it makes you feel that way. And so I can totally
exactly. So it's like, I know, none of them want to do it, and you can tell how heartbroken they are when they have to tell me like that there's nothing that they can do. Just because I've had so many wonderful doctors too throughout the years, who just like really, really care. And you know how it is when you are in this situation, you go to your doctor all the time. Like, you become very close with your doctor. And so them trying so hard to help you and them failing at that, I know is really rough on them too. It's like they get into that practice to heal people and help people. And when you can't be helped, they just are like heartbroken about it. And I don't know, that kind of makes me feel better, I guess, because like I feel like they're empathizing with me and everything.
It's not an easy thing for them to do or say.
And it's tough also because people always talk about, the stats on dialysis, that only a certain percentage like last for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, And I'm like, I have been on dialysis pretty much on and off for 17 years. So, like, what? People are always freaked out at first. Like, are you going to just die or something? And I'm like, and I hate to tell people. I'm like, I mean, luckily, I'm a good patient. My labs are usually really steady and right on point, and just forever, like, I've always been told by my doctors that I'm a good patient and that I follow my instructions and do what I'm supposed to do to keep myself healthy.
Way to go.
And that's a huge thing, because I feel like a lot of the folks who do end up on dialysis, a large percentage are from diabetes and issues like that, where folks weren't taking as good of care of themselves as they should have been, especially when you are diagnosed with an illness. It's hard. You have to start taking medication every day and all this stuff. After a transplant, they send you home with this box and they have a lady sit down with you at the transplant center.
Yeah.
These are all the medications, and these are all the reasons you need to take them. These are the hours. It has to be taken exactly at this time. I freaked out. I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to remember how to take all of these. There's no possible way.
That's got to be overwhelming to have all that information all
It's insane. It's like after transplant is just craziness because you're still drugged up and all this stuff, you know, like you don't know what the heck is going on.
Well, let's not forget too, Bridget, about they all come with a plethora of side effects.
Oh, yes, exactly. So you'll take this one, but you'll get this side effect. So you take this other medication for that, but then you get another side effect. So you take another medication for that, and you're like, just stop. Like one of the big things about the weed and the reason that I use marijuana is it helps me like so much. It helps me sleep. It helps me digest my food and not get stomach aches and not get nauseous because that's been a problem.
Use cannabis.
Yeah, and it's
Now,
just
that's the medical marijuana.
Well, yeah, I did that when it was
or nothing, but I was just because I know they do have that now. That's why I was asking.
I did the medical marijuana when I needed to, but in California it's fully legal. It has been for a few years.
Oh, okay.
So I don't even have to go to the store. I just order it for delivery. Like it's you have like your weed guy come deliver, but he's just a regular delivery guy. So since it's legal here, I just use that.
Right. I mean, I live in Utah and Colorado not far away. So, you know, it's even cannabis in general, though, whether it's marijuana or not, but just cannabis, okay, is proven to have health benefits. You know, that's why CBD is just exploding.
Oh, yeah. And CBD is super helpful. I feel like all of it has really been very helpful for me because I get, just being on dialysis and with the kidney stuff, it's just, my stomach hurts all the time. I feel nauseous like every day. Sometimes I just don't want to eat at all. And it's a good way to keep me eating and it keeps me from getting stomach aches. Like if I just ate, my stomach will hurt. I can have a little marijuana and it's better. And, it also helps with the anxiety, the depression, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Now, Kevin's from Idaho. Thanks for watching, Kevin. And he's talking about the side effects from dialysis, not the weed, by the way. Just wanted to clarify.
Yes. That is true, Kevin. The side effects of dialysis are really, really rough. And
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, it's like people expect you go to dialysis, you come home, you're better, right? You just got your treatment. You're like, no. Like, imagine I just ran a marathon and I haven't trained. That's how your body feels. I haven't trained at all. I just went and started just running. And now I can't stand up. I want to fall over. Like, I can make it from my car to my couch, and then I just, plop out on my couch. I can't bring anything inside. Every time my boyfriend gets home, I'm like, we need to go get all my dialysis stuff from the car because I can't. It's too much. And I just sleep for hours afterwards. And then the next day, you hope you're better. So it's like I get Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday that I feel okay. Sunday, I'm needing treatment again. So I feel kind of gross. And then Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm just like, I just look at those as those are days when I'm just work all day long.
Okay.
That's my whole job.
And I've told many people that you have to understand that dialysis is not necessarily almost like meant to make you feel better and feel great. It just sustains your life and cleanses the blood, and obviously like I did PD, I chose PD as well.
Yeah, just so great.
But I did the night cycler and
Same.
It worked.
That's what I did too.
Yeah. And so I didn't have any side effects with that. It was always just instilled, like you talked about, being very clean and careful with that too, because if you get that infection in the peritoneum, it can actually be deadly. So it was just a blessing that they caught that, with you and they were able to get you squared away. But dialysis, you feel yucky,
Oh, it's awful. It's like, it's not, I don't know. It's not, like you said, it's not a treatment that makes you feel good. Like, I'm not like I'm going to like my day spa, I'm getting my vitamin B shots that come back. I'm like, that feels so great. Like, no. I come home and my butt is sore from the stupid chair, and I'm bored and I'm tired and I can barely walk and I don't want to eat. I don't want to talk. I don't want to do anything.
Do you wear a blanket to keep yourself warm?
I have a like seat pad, like a butt pad for that. I use 2 blankets, and I have like a personal hand warmer that I use. I got it on Amazon, and I just heat it up and I stick it either on my hand or I just stick it under my blanket against my body, and that helps heat me up. I have my neck pillow. I have like an eye mask. I bring my iPad and magazines and a portable charger in case my phone or my iPad dies. Like, I've got quite the setup, and I have like my little bento box that I bring of snacks every time. I bring the same snacks, a little bit of water, just enough to like sustain me through treatment and get me by. So it's like it's down to like an art form at this point, like getting through dialysis. You know, I have the perfect warm sweater, and just, it takes a lot of time. And so I find on Facebook, you know, I'm involved in a lot of the different groups of people with kidney transplants and kidney disease. And one of the big ones that people always ask is, I'm about to start dialysis, what should I bring with me? They're like, bring all of these things. It's going to change your life. Because, like, I didn't start off with any of this stuff, you know? It's just over the years of being like, oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. Because when you start treatment, like at whatever clinic you're in, they give you like a little bag, cheap little headphones, a cheap little neck pillow, and like a cheap little blanket. And it doesn't keep you warm at all. I'm like, no, this stuff is all junk. Like, just don't even throw that away and just get your own stuff. It's going to be a lot better.
All right, so I'm going to start calling it living. I'm going to start calling it living
Live-alysis. Live-alysis.
There you go. Live-alysis. So thank you.
Yes,
so
we're changing it. He's going to be so excited that we got everyone to call it live-alysis now. We're not dying, we're living.
That's right.
Hey, Jared, that question from Lisa Baxter, is that time? Can you read, would you mind reading that to Bridget?
Yeah, I'll bring that back. So Bridget, she had a question here. It was a pretty good one. And when you're on cannabis, you smoke it? I mean, can you explain to folks that maybe aren't familiar with how to
I do
treat?
Both, kind of. Like, sometimes I'll smoke it, and then sometimes I'll do like an edible. You know, and then I've also done like just the CBD oil stuff, like a tincture, you know, and I spray in my mouth. Like, I have a lot of different options, and luckily, you know, being here in California, we have like a million different kinds. So you can just like, you go and you tell them, I need something specifically that's going to like help my stomach, or I want something that's going to keep me awake and do this, or I want something that's going to help me sleep and do this. So, I mean, I haven't noticed any side effects from weed, you know, like I was always kind of like a recreational user when I was younger, kind of on and off, but it's only been the past few years that I've started to use it regularly as part of my medication. So otherwise I was taking meds to help with my nausea and all this different stuff. I'm just like, I personally, I mean, everyone has their own different, idea of what's going to work best for them, but I kind of like the idea of just having something that's a natural product that's going to naturally do that, rather than more chemical prescriptions that I have to take. So I already have to take enough of that as it is. It's like, I don't even take any of the post-transplant ones. I've been off of those for years. It's like all the medication I take is just like vitamins and this and that, and all this other stuff to regulate like my thyroid and to regulate my blood pressure, and you know, for having like digestive like reflux stuff. Like I wasn't on any medication for that for a while, and I started to develop an ulcer back in the day because it was just like everything's just all messed up in your body, and so it's like always like coming up, and I would just feel so sick. So I take medication for that. Yeah, and I like also that now with, as Stephanie mentions on here, that the quality is really regulated on the marijuana on the market now. you know, which was one of the reasons I wanted it to be legalized in California. And I voted for that was I wanted it to be less of like a black market thing. You know, I wanted to have some sort of, it has to go through, you know, it goes from here, here, here. And there's like so many regulations surrounding it now that it's more expensive because it's taxed, but I don't mind that because I would rather like feel comfort in like the product that I'm getting rather than just like getting some like random pills from some guy on the street, you know?
Right.
So when you make it, I mean, and this is like, this could be a total stereotype, but I always think brownies. I mean, is that what you?
No. Well, I mean, yeah, I've obviously had my share of weed brownies throughout throughout my life. But you know, now it comes in so many different things. It's like you can get it as syrup or a drink or this or that, like a lemonade, a chocolate bar, a piece of cake.
All right.
So many different options. Like it comes
all sorts of foods.
Any way you want it, you can get it, which is kind of nice. It's like you get this drink and it's like a lemonade and you just have a little, like kind of like a little baby shot, like if I was having like a nightcap or something, but it's my weed instead. That I drink instead of having alcohol. Because I don't really drink alcohol that much just because my body is just, it does not like it. It is like, I used to drink more when I was younger, but especially these past few years, like, oh my gosh, my body rejects alcohol. It's like I have a drink and it's just everything. I'm like, ugh. So that's why I kind of stick with the marijuana instead, because it just makes me feel a lot better and it helps me relax when I need to. And it's just, I mean, I'm lucky to be in California that I have the access to it that I do here, considering that I personally like it and like to use it.
Well, what I like is that you found something that's helping you with your anxiety and depression that you've had, and that's good, you know, because you know we want to be able to have a balance, you know, and you found something that helps you with your balance. Now, from your response, which has been a great response, so you're not noticing like the side effects, because that's kind of why Lisa was asking about that, a side effect from weed. But if there are side effects, it's probably not bad ones, because you've responded very well.
Yes, exactly. You know, I feel like if there is a side effect, whatever it is, isn't noticeable enough for me to not want to do it. And it's not worse than dialysis side effects. Livalysis, pardon me.
Livalysis, right.
Livalysis. And so it's obviously also not...
like he said, better than using Xanax. Like, rather than having to take additional medication and stuff, I can just... You know, I'm just trying to not, you know, kind of cleanse my body of what it can, since I can't keep less chemicals coming in, since my body's not good at cleaning out what it's supposed to.
Well, you know your body.
You know, I don't want to make it any harder on myself than it already is. Just eating food is the toxin in my body, you know? Having to be very careful about diet and all that stuff.
Speaking of food, Christopher just shared a moment ago binders. So when you're eating, you know, it sounds like you're obviously, because you talked about being compliant, it sounds like you're a good patient, so you're probably taking your binders well. But what kind of recipes do you do? You've shared some of those on Instagram that I've seen. Can you talk a little bit about your food and your recipes?
Yeah, totally. So part of the dialysis diet for me is, you know, having to watch my phosphorus and my potassium. And that's really hard because, like, for folks who don't know, phosphorus is like in everything. And so, you know, you have to take your binders, and it's a phosphorus binder. So what that does is, like, you take it when you're eating, either like before or after or during, and it binds with the phosphorus in your food and helps you get rid of it that way, since my body won't naturally regulate it like everyone else would. And it's in a lot, you know, like I said, it's in everything. But if you notice, if you read labels on things, anything that has phos in the word, in one of the ingredients, is just added phosphorus. Like, it's not natural. they add it to the food. So that's one of the big things.